All right, so something I wanted to work on or to have us spend a little time with this morning is, again, observe a little bit on observation. We've been doing quite a bit of that, and because really that's important to be able to bringing observation into our work as, just sort of a standard practice, always really looking carefully and paying attention to things around us. And even if we're doing imaginary sort of work, still making that a part of that is still the foundation. Because really what we're trying to do is, I'm going to switch over here. What we're trying to do when we are doing art, whatever it may be that we're, if we're trying to, just do something just to show what it, like, what am I trying to say here? Like, even if we're just working from observation, for instance, if we're doing a landscape or a still life or drawing or painting the model, working from observation that way, or whether we're trying to capture a concept, okay, so or express a concept or an emotion, anything like that. Even if we're giving a message, there's something that we want to really work at. I don't always like the word capture. It's the word we use. But I'm going to go with it because I can't think of anything else right now. But what we really want to do is we want to capture the character, or what I often say, or the essence of whatever it is. So if we're doing a landscape or a still life, some flowers, a vase of flowers or something like that, we want to try to capture the character of that, or what is, what's the essence. That means we often do not need detail. Details can often be distracting. They're not wrong. You certainly can. But details should also be helping us to capture the essence or the character of whatever it is. If you are doing a portrait of someone, if, let's say someone asks, would you paint a portrait of my child or paint a portrait of my dog or something like that? What they want when they see it, when they look at the work, is that they want to get a sense, the feeling like you've really captured, oh man, you've captured the character of my child. It just, the personality, everything about that. And so that's what we're always working towards. And sometimes we get caught up in thinking that we do that with details. Almost in any case, we have to make decisions on what details do we include and what details do we leave out. So a big part of it is simplification. Okay, simplification is a big part. It's one of the principles in art, is understanding how to simplify something, because we always need to pay attention as to what to include, what do we include, and what do we leave out. So this is something that an artist is always doing. It's very, very easy to put in too much, and it's also very easy to let go of things that should have been in there. Okay, so what we want to do this morning is something where we're going to practice this. And one of the ways that we can practice this is to do what we call a single line drawing. So, by the way, I see Reith has joined us this morning. Good to see you, Reith. So, Reith, we have a new student. I'll just introduce or point out to you, we have another student joining us from Germany, Uta. Uta, this is Reith. Reith is all the way in Cambodia. And So anyway, all right, back to our lesson. So one of the things, this will be a little bit of review from, I guess, Monday's class. So Reef had done this, where we do what is called contour drawing. Contour drawing is where we, a contour is a line that it shows the edges of the plane. So the surface, I guess we could call it the surface. And a contour line drawing is not an outline, but it is the line that, let's say for following on my hand here, goes around here, and then it comes in, it follows the edge of the plane, not the overall edge around it. So this is a little bit different. So those of you who who was in the class where we were doing negative space, last time we ignored all of this so that we would focus on the negative space. Today we're now going to flip, and we're going to really focus on the lines that go in, and we're going to try and look at all of these. So just, we're not going to do a whole lot of this. I've done this before, and I have a lesson on this up, but just to give you an understanding of a contour line drawing. So if I'm doing, let's say, I'm not going to do the whole thing. Let's say just my thumb. So I'm just going to focus on here. So a contour line drawing would follow the edge here, as we can see. And then there's a little bit coming back in there. And then it includes all of these sort of, these edges, these wrinkles. And it really tries to take, or tries to, as I say, capture the character of the thumb. Well, hopefully that's the idea, is you end up capturing the character by getting all of these lines. And then of course we have to decide what is necessary, what do we leave out, because there's a number of details in there. Okay, so a contour line drawing, and then often with our drawing we try to get this varied sort of line that gets dark and light. And okay, so this is sort of the basis that we want to be thinking about, is going through here. But an idea of simplification, how do we bring this in, is what we are going to try and do, practice, is what we call a single line drawing. Okay, a single line drawing where we use one line. So we never lift our pencil, and we go around and we capture just what we, as little as possible. So basically in single line drawing, let me put it this way, what we want to do is we want to say as much as possible with as few lines as possible. Okay, so that doesn't mean we get rid of all details, because sometimes the detail is necessary to capture, to express the essence of it. So I'll try doing just something with my hand. I'd like my hand holding something though, if I could. Let me just, so I want to put this so you can see this as well. All right, so there, as I'm doing this, I'm going to even see if there are some things that I can even leave out. So can I get the sense, I would normally spend a little I would go a little bit slower. But just for the sake of the demo. So this is where, it comes to a challenge. Where do I go next? And that's where I want to sort of think about, because again, I'm trying to say as much as I can with as little as possible. I want to express that 3D part of it. And now I have to sort of find how can I get to where I need to go next? And at this point, my thought is, do I go around the thumb? Can I find another way to get across? And so I'm looking for any sort of plane, any detail, anything on here that I might want to bring out. And then once again, how can I leave anything out? So here's an edge of a shadow even. So if I include that, okay? So I might have, yeah, it's really a practice. There's maybe other ways I could have done it. There's no really right or wrong way to be able to, to do this. It's not like right. It's just, again, really, it comes down to just a practice. Like maybe it would have been better if that one would have curved and then come back or something like that. But trying to keep your pencil down the whole time and finding your way to be able to get around. If you have objects, interesting objects, I was doing this shell once before, an object that has a lot of different edges that you can follow and get around, then that can be a lot more interesting. Like if I were to draw this mouse, that's not overly interesting. There's not a lot of edges there. So I just grabbed a few things around the house here. Something like this can be interesting because once again, a lot of interesting sort of edges. Here's some details that'll be fun, that I would want to include. What might I leave out? These details of the nails in here, something I would want to leave out. This was laying around the house here, this little statue thing. Can I capture just the essence of this little statue thing? With, again, in what do I leave out? Okay. So if you have any objects around the house to sort of, to play around with that, in the meantime, I'm going to find some pictures to show you some examples. I had a student, one I really want to show is I had a student do a portrait of me. This is a high school student, and it's one of my, I think the best portrait anyone has ever done of me. I haven't had a lot of portraits done of me, but anyways, so in the meantime, while you guys are working at that, I'm going to find that. So, but let me first see if there are any questions. I'm going to pause this a minute. All right, so I'm going to share this once again. Let me do this one first for whoever's watching it. Okay, so once again, the one which a student had done of myself. This one is quite a bit of detail in it yet. You'll see compared to the other ones I'm going to show you. Okay, but I find this still a successful one in that they only put the detail where they felt was necessary. But these other ones that I'm going to show you, which once again, let me stress, these come from online. It's pretty small here. Let's see if I can raise that up. Okay. Okay, so it's just a single line drawing of the face. So much is left out of it. But what I mean by capturing the essence, we can tell it's a female. We can see the direction she's looking. We get a sense of her, her facial structure, and even a little bit of an expression in there as well. This one as well. And okay, so you can see how they've captured the cheek, the chin, but in some cases, where normally this line continues on, okay, goes over here. The ears totally left out. This is all they did for the eye. You can see how the nose is done, and not just people, So this is a wolf or maybe a husky type dog. And this is all the legs are, but we still get, just because of this front one, we get the sense this dog's sort of strutting along, the way his tail's lifted. Another one. Oop. Okay. Even though their shoulder's not really there, we get just a sense of the shoulder. The person looking over their shoulder with their eye closed. The dancer, look at the hands. That's all they've done for hands. I'm going to bring that in so you can really, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, but we get a sense of what the hands are doing. Okay, they totally left out the back. It's not necessary. Drew the hands going, or the arms go right through the head. Okay, and this is all the head is. The chin, all we need is just the chin. And the neck is totally, well, the neck is here at the front, but it's not here. And then it turns into the shoulder. Here's a couple done. Here's a couple of rabbits. So here's one, and then here's another. A plant. Bring these up a bit. It's very pixelated. It was taking so long to download. But again, we can tell the whole back is left off of the eagle. But we can tell what it's doing there. Here's a different eagle. This is fun, the trailing line. So we get a sense of the motion of the flight. Or if we zoom in, okay, just the way this line curves down has captured the, that fierce look. Eagles always have that, they look fierce when they look. The shadow underneath. And I threw this one in too, just the mouth. We can get a sense of, it looks like they have one extra line. This comes along, goes there, yeah. Oh no, I guess it probably joins in with this one here. But you get a sense of the form of the lips in the picture there. And I guess that's the last one there, okay? So again, that's the idea of what we work towards when we do this, is trying to, as it say, you say as much as possible with as few lines as possible. All right, so I'm going to do a few here. We'll just keep working as we are. Oh, wow, it's almost 8 o'clock. That went really quick. So why don't we'll go till 8 o'clock. So we'll work for 10 minutes, just trying different things, find different things. You can do it from a photograph too. It doesn't have to be an object. Okay. Try doing the same object. a couple of times. I'm just going to put on a bit of music. Oh. Okay, so I've done a single line drawing of this shell, and I did it from this angle here, looking at it basically like this. And I meant to record that, and I forgot to hit record before I started. So I worked with the pens, which helps get the change in thickness of line. And what I want is just this sort of very spontaneous simplicity to the piece, but I think it will add to it if I have some color in here, and I can do that. And watercolor is a very spontaneous medium, and you work with it, you let it do its thing, and you just, you know, try to control it a little bit. But so it really will lend itself well to this sort of idea. Okay, so I have my textured paper, I have everything else ready here. I've got my shell in front of me that I'm looking at. Tissue all ready to go. Always have a piece that's for lifting. My water. And first thing I want to do is prepare a few colors. And I'm going to try and cover this area. So really I'm going to want good, nice puddles of paint, not just little smears. I don't want to run out. So I'm trying to think what I'm going to use. I'm going to go with this one here. Fairly soft color. I like to use this little eyedropper for getting the water in there. It's way faster than using the brush. And I mix this in. I find the one thing of recycling the color, when watercolor dries, you can add water to it and get it back again, so it's still usable again. But I do find it does sometimes leave it a little bit chunky. You get these little bits in there, which I don't really particularly like. And apparently not all brands do that, only some. I'm going to go with this color as well. These are actually pre-mixed, these two, from another project I was doing. So, you know, that one is orange and yellow, and then actually a little bit of raw sienna color in there as well. So hopefully that'll be nice and pale and beige a little bit to get that color in there. And then I'm going to want my really soft magenta. So I'm going to drop it right in here. And let's just see. I'm going to go ahead and just mix all of this together. So you'll see that, well, this is doing pretty good. It's not too chunky. And my magenta here. And it's good to just practice these sort of things, you know, doing stuff like this, which you're not actually planning on, you know, hanging up, is just such a great way to learn. Need to have a test paper here. You always want to have a test paper so you can check your colors to see how, you know, how bold they are. Okay, that's nice and muted. I like that. What about my red? I'm going to test that one. I don't want that too much. Yeah, that's okay. It's pretty strong, but that's all right. I can always lift some of that out of there. But that's making me think I'm going to want some pure yellow. So let's first get my yellow all ready. And depending on how watery I want my colors, how transparent will, you know, how soft. So here's one of those little chunks. There's a little chunk of paint there that can be a real pain. Just have to try and get that out. There we go. Trying to lift that out of there. All right. So with watercolor is opposite of acrylic. Acrylic, you typically start with your darks and you layer your lights on top of that. Watercolor is just the opposite. You start with your light and then you layer your darks over top, okay? So I really need to have a tissue. I think I'm gonna have to do a lot of lifting. I'm not gonna mask this out because I want it to be really, really loose. I don't necessarily want those hard edges. So first thing I'm going to do is wet my paper. I'm going to do a wet on wet. This is called a wet on wet technique. And I'm going to give myself a little something to use to raise it up a little bit so it's on an angle. And I'm just going to put some pure water over top this whole thing. Which causes the paper to buckle a little bit, but I'm just testing this. Normally I would have this taped down on a board of some sort, but I'm not going to worry about that right now for this. And all right, so I'm going to go with this pale orange just to start. And it's not really draining as much. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to want to try and create somewhat, you know, interesting sort of shapes. So I always dance a little bit with the brush. And I like to have more than one color. I like to have colors running together. And I'm going to do a little bit of lifting right away. I need to get some color down below here too. Wow, this is dried so fast. It's just soaked the water right up, as you can see. So I have a little spritzer here. And that will add to it. No, actually, I like that. I like some of these. I'm going to keep a few of these straight lines coming off of here. All right, this is really picking up this texture here. It's doing this, creating this sort of effect, but that's okay. I'm getting some nice soft things happening, colors blending together. And I should have a hair dryer here, which would speed up the process. But in the meantime, I've just suddenly realized I'm going to want some purple in here. I'm going to try and get bring some purple down into those shadows. So while I'm waiting for this to dry, let's go and get my purple ready. Now the purple I know gets very dark very quick. So I'm going to test that out. I don't want it to get too dark. I'd rather layer my colors for this one. So I'm going to switch to a bit of a smaller brush here, and I'm going to lay it flat because I don't want this to necessarily run away on me. But while it's still a little bit wet, I'm just going to and it's always good to test the color. That's a little bit bold. I'll sometimes even get it watered down a little bit on my scrap paper. And yeah, that's very, very subtle. I can go a little bit bold. Ooh, that's gonna be, all right, here we go. So while that's, I'm gonna drop water into that right away. Get that to move around a little bit. Wow, that just really. It's interesting how it made that hard line. Usually you can soften that, but that just dried instantly. So I'm just going to lay in these purples where I can see in my shadowed area. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why that line just went down like that so quickly. And I'm just feeling the color blue. So I'm just going to drop a little bit of that in there while it's wet. So very loose, just, you know, not doing a whole lot, just dropping these colors in very loosely, not trying to worry too much. I'm thinking very particularly about where I'm putting them, but I'm not concerned with, you know, any sort of you know, it's accurate, yes, but still loose, not not fussing with it. Just lay it down and leave it alone. And I want that to drain down, but I'm gonna have it a little bit less right there. That's bothersome that happened, but it is what it is. And I have a tissue with me right away. So I'm just laying in this warm orange. I don't want to get that. Yeah, there we go. So while that's, I work very quickly while that's wet to so that those colors will blend together. And then if it's creating a hard edge that I don't like, very quickly I just throw some water on top of that, and that will soften out that edge and get that to flow. And then I'm staying away, even though from that, there we go. I'm actually staying away from my, let me move my palette over, this color here. I have a lot of that, but I'm not really feeling that. I want to bring that in right now. Let's dab at that a little bit at the top. A little bit of yellow over here. Just to pick up some of that brightness. Okay, so I'm now throwing down just a little bit of yellow to, as if it's picking up some yellow light. Okay, so you can you can see I'm not capturing, I'm not repeating really what's going on here. It's not in any sort of realistic way whatsoever. But what I am trying to capture once again is, can I sort of get the essence of these colors? All right, I'm going to go for it. Let's try and see what happens with this red. If I lay this in here, yeah, okay, that's gonna be all right. And soften it out right away as it comes up. And I'm gonna even go ahead and just get it bolder. And you can see that runs right away, but I can lift that up. So it's got a bit of a messy edge and I want to straighten that out. So I can do that. So I dry my brush very quickly and I can straighten that edge out just by lifting a little bit, okay? I'm not gonna worry too much, don't wanna worry about getting it too perfect. And do what's called charging, just get a little bit brighter along that area. And then I'm gonna see if I can lift before it's too late. There we go. I'm gonna lift a highlight along here. So I keep going in with a dry brush. I'm trying to get that. I tilt it, oops, out of the camera. So I'm tilting that down. So it's very subtle, but at the top there, I'm trying to get that to be a little bit lighter. This is really textured paper and it's doing sort of funny things, making it really speckly, which is probably because it was totally painted on the other side. So, so it's really going through. So when I look at my piece, I'm going to want to get this part darker now. So that will feel like it's going underneath. But while this is wet, let's bring in a little bit of that there. So I can create a soft edge I can put it in on a dry surface at the start, but I have to be fast and get some water in there to soften that edge before it hardens altogether. But I want to just get a little strip of orange through there. Okay, so again, the shell is my subject. I'm trying to capture the essence, the beauty of the color, the dancing line work. I'm not trying to capture a photographic image of any sort. So I'm going to bring in some blue again in here. And even some red. Okay, so this will get that darker effect. And then while that is still wet, I need to soften that out, that edge. But I need the darkest to stay near the bottom there. So I've tilted it this way. And so gravity is simply working for me. And getting my darkest edge along the bottom here, okay? So you can see with watercolor, you just touch it. And that's what you do often. You just touch it and let it do its thing. You don't, you know, you're not the one moving it around. Well, you do a little bit of moving around, but overall, you're just letting it do its thing. All right, so I've got this red here. Now this is just a compositional thing. And I feel I need some of this red repeated over here, okay? It's always good to, yeah, to have your colors not just in one spot. That is a real pretty spot there. And it will draw attention to itself, and that's not too bad, but I just feel I like that shape that I created there, so I'm gonna leave that at a hard edge. So, but this is getting a little too dominant here in that one. So now I've got just a hint of the red, need a little bit more up here. So sometimes I like the shape that got created and I'm going to leave it a hard edge, and other times I don't. I need a little bit more of it down here. And I'm going to bring just a little bit more here, but I think that's more to be more of that purple. So I'm going to get some purple in there right away. Okay, so I always like a combination of the hard and soft edge in watercolor. It's just my preference. Okay, I'm going to get a blue, just a hint of a blue shadow underneath of this. So soften that edge down here. And while it's wet, I'm going to drop in a little bit more at the top. And because shadows are always darkest right near the object, so I'm working very quickly here before this dries. And then just a little bit on this side as well. Soften that up. So while that's still drying, I quick get some of my blue color in there. And you can see it's watercolor is always, it allows the other color to show through underneath as long as I keep it transparent. This paper is doing so, I've never had watercolor paper react like this. So strange. It's okay. It's just so different. Making it all speckly like that is just, oops, I'm off my camera again. So now I'm looking at this angle I'm actually realizing I should have a line coming over here. Just to capture the sense that this is yeah, there should be another spike coming down here right in between those two. So I can't draw it in right now because I think it would mess, the ink would go funny with this. All right. I want to create just a sense of that there may be a bit of a table or something behind. So I am going to see if I can do this. All right, I am going to just create an edge. So I'm going to put this ruler down. I don't normally do this just to give me a sense of where that would be. Give myself a straight line, and that lines up on this side. Get that out of the way right away. So this whole time I'm doing this, I want to, always try to see if I can create interesting sort of shapes, even for my background here.
Rick, can you scooch it to the right? Thank you.
Sorry, yes, please tell me if I'm doing that, because that's not going to be helpful for anyone if you can't see what I'm doing. Thank you, Rebecca, thank you. Okay, so let's throw a little bit of this purple. And I think in the end I didn't even use magenta, did I? So again, when you're trying to create a sense of depth, typically, this is just like typically, so it's not 100%, but typically put the darker color behind, okay? Or darken the color behind. If it's darker, will help create that depth, okay? So that's why I made the it's like a wall or something back behind there. All right, I'm not sure what's going to happen if I think this is dry enough, maybe. I'm going to, yeah. Just put a little sense of another. Okay, so I'm going, went a little bit off of my original single line drawing, but just, again, the idea is, what is necessary, and, what can be left out, so here's a couple of things I just simply felt I needed to add those in. So it's something I felt necessary. This I'm leaving, you can see I've left that all off of there, but what ends up, so I don't feel I need that. So I can leave that off, okay? So once again, the idea is trying to capture, the beautiful subtlety, the way the color plays on this, capturing some of the intricate details that happen here versus the really smooth softness on that side. And so that's what I'm going for, again, as opposed to trying to recreate a photograph. My opinion is just always, if all you want to do is recreate a photograph, then why not just keep the photograph. It's way faster, way less work. So, all right, wow, that took us right up to 9 o'clock. Let me stop it there.
It's
Okay,
so beautiful.
thank you.